Nowadays, we mainly associate brawls fought purely for the sake of fighting with soccer hooligans and manifestation tourists. In 1704, however, George Friedrich Handel provoked a life-threatening stabbing on the market square in front of the Hamburg Opera House on Ganzmarkt, which almost cost him his life. Which famous German composer of the time wanted to stab Handel in public, and why? And what detail of Handel's clothing prevented his death? We want to tell the story from beginning to end and also ask ourselves whether the chronicler who described it to the Britons in 1772 recounted it correctly. The anecdote can be found in the memoirs of Handel's opponent at the time. He was the music theorist and composer Johann Mattheson, who was no less famous at the time. Imagine how the two, already embroiled in a heated argument, were further incited by amused onlookers and an amused crowd of gawkers as they left the Hamburg Opera House, until the fiery 23-year-old Mattheson finally drew a knife, or was it a sword, and lunged at Handel in a rage. Fortunately for Handel, the blade of Matheson's weapon broke for a surprising reason. We will reveal why in a moment, but first let us ask how this violent altercation came about in the first place. It is important to note that at that time it was customary for opera composers to accompany and conduct their own works from the harpsichord. Mattheson had written an opera during this period, The Unfortunate Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, or Betrayed State Love, and it was due to be performed in Hamburg. He was not only the author of the opera, but also took on the role of Cleopatra's lover Antonius, who kills himself about half an hour before the end of the play. The performance was conducted from the harpsichord by George Friedrich Handel. Freed from singing after Antony's death on stage, Mattheson rushed to the harpsichord and wanted to take over the conducting for the rest of the evening himself. However, Handel refused to leave the instrument, which apparently enraged Mattheson so much that the scene we have already described began to unfold in front of the opera house. And what saved Handel's life? The English travel writer and music historian Charles Burney describes the events of 1773 in his book, The Present State of Music in Germany, the Netherlands, and United Provinces as follows. About this time was performed there an opera composed by Mattheson called Cleopatra, in which he acted the part of Anthonius himself, and Handel played the harpsichord. But Mattheson, being accustomed upon the death of Anthonius, which happens early in the piece, to take the harpsichord in the character of composer, Handel refused to indulge his vanity by relinquishing this post to him, which occasioned such a violent quarrel between them that, upon leaving the house, Mattheson gave him a slap on the face, upon which both immediately drew their swords, and a duel ensued in the marketplace before the door of the opera house. Luckily, Matheson's sword broke against a metal button on Handel's coat, which put an end to the combat, and they were soon after reconciled. This is the account which, long before Handel's death, Mattheson himself published concerning the difference that happened between them during their youth in Hamburg. So much for Burney account. But is he telling us the true story? In 1740, Mattheson himself recalls the incident in his book Foundation of a Hall of Fame. He writes, "I conducted as a composer and at the same time played the role of Antonius, who dies about half an hour before the end of the play. Until then, I had been accustomed to going to the orchestra after this action and accompanying the rest myself, which, after all, every composer can undoubtedly do better than anyone else. However, this time I was refused. As we left the opera house, a few provocateurs caused a fight to break out in front of a crowd of spectators in the public market, which could have ended very badly for both of us. If it had not been for God's gracious intervention, my blade would have shattered when I struck my opponent's broad metal coat button. So no particular harm was done, and we were soon reconciled through the mediation of one of the most respectable counselors in Hamburg, as well as the opera's lessee at the time." Does Mattheson confirm Burney account? On the whole, yes, with one small, perhaps not insignificant deviation. He makes no mention of a slap in the face. Did he slap him or not? And was it actually a sword, which Mattheson does not mention, or rather a knife? We do not know. Nor do we know whether the altercation was actually as violent as the two describe it. The reports were written 20 to 25 years after the event. If Mattheson had actually been recognized as having had intent to kill at the time, the incident would probably have had far greater legal consequences even then. And the two would hardly have reconciled so quickly. Thus, the anecdote remains primarily an indication that musicians in the Baroque era did not behave as politely as we might assume today. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel. At academia-larty.org, you will also find a knowledge database and online courses from our academy. And check out the other videos here on YouTube. Thank you for your interest.